Hello everybody, this is EonShiKeno. Today, Blizzard released patch number 2 for Heart of the Swarm beta. Let's go over all the changes and have a look at how it's going to change the game. First up, we've got a change to the Locust that is produced by the Swarm host. Its range has been reduced from 3 to 2. That's all the changes there are for the Zerg. Let's move on to the Protoss. And now for the Protoss changes. The Oracle has had its preordain ability removed. In replace, they put in an ability called Phase Shield. This allows targeted friendly units that are shielded to not take damage from harmful effects for 5 seconds, such as fungal growth, corruption, contaminate, graviton beam, concussive shells, abduct, revelation, vortex, and 250mm strike cannons. Really interesting skill. It's kind of used as a dispel / protection shield against your units. So let's take a look at how this works out here in practical sense. So got our Oracle here with our new skill, Phase Shield. So we've got an enemy infester. If you cast your Phase Shield down and fungal on top of it, you can see the units do not get fungled. So it's kind of a shield, I guess you'd call it, Phase Shield. Against stuff like that. It also works, like I said, as a dispel mechanism against certain abilities. So let's say we fungal. They're fungled, you can quickly dispel it right away. And that works, like I said, on a bunch of different skills. One thing I saw that is really interesting, it actually works against Vortex. So let's say we want to come in here. Let's get this guy a little closer. See for the second? Yep, right there. Until the Phase Shield actually wore off, they do not take the effects of Vortex, which is really cool and could change PvP quite a bit, depending on how well people micro their Oracle around. Some of the other changes for the Oracle are the fact that the upgrade to increase its energy has been removed, but Entomb has had a little bit of a change. So it's going to last for less time, but the health of the mineral shields is going to go up by 25. So this is an attempt to make it less effective versus noobs, but more effective versus pros. I find it as a pretty good balanced choice there. Next up for the Protoss, we have the Tempest changes. The attack range has been reduced from 22 to 15. The damage has changed from 30 to 30 plus 20 massive, and the range upgrade has been removed. So essentially they're trying to make Tempest have a little, well actually it's going to have less range, it's going to be down to 15, but the fact they added 20 more damage versus massive leads me to believe they really want to make Tempest an anti-Broodlord, anti-Thor, anti-Colossus, just any type of anti-massive unit. That's what they're trying to go with here, it seems, with the Tempest change. Not sure what I feel about it so far, but overall it's a pretty interesting change. The next unit that had a little bit of a change is the Mothership Core / Mothership. Recall now costs 100 energy. The Mothership Core will now start with 50 energy after upgraded into a Mothership, which is a little bit of a nerf. And the Purifier Beam has had an increased range from 7 to 10, which I think is a quite useful buff for the Mothership Core to allow it to maybe help Protoss defend a little bit better early game. And now the last and most awesomest change for the Protoss, the thing Protoss players have been clamoring for.
Carrier has arrived.
The Carrier has arrived. The Carrier is back in Starcraft 2, Heart of the Swarm. So now Protoss players will have 2 capital airships to choose from. But I think this is a great thing. I love Carrier. I loved it in the game. I love how more players were starting to use it. And I think it's like a staple of Starcraft. So I'm glad they finally have succumbed to peer pressure and put the unit back in the game. On to the Terran changes right off the bat. Let's go with the elephant in the room patch change. More like lack of Warhound in the room change. They actually removed Warhound from the game. The Warhound is gone. Everybody was saying this thing is OP. It's crazy. Get it out of the game. Blizzard has obliged. I think Warhound may come back in some form or fashion later on, but definitely not in its current state. I think they're going to make some big changes to it. If at all, they're going to bring it back into the game. So Protoss players and Zerg players rejoice. The Warhound is gone. Next up is going to be the Hellion. Battle Hellions can now be built in a factory. It has an armory requirement. There's a new upgrade in the armory that will allow transformation between battle mode and normal mode. So this is a nerf to the Battle Hellion. As you can see here, you can either produce a Hellion or a Battle Hellion. And if you make a Hellion, you can't transform it into a battle mode Hellion straight out of the box like you could before. You have to actually purchased the upgrade, which is called Research Transformation Servos, which is 110 second build time on that upgrade. So this is just kind of slowing down the ability for Terran players to get Battle Hellions. I think they were worried about a lot of really early game Battle Hellion all-ins. That was pretty powerful. So a little bit of a change there for the Hellion. And the other change for Terran players is going to be the Widow Mine. So the Widow Mine now can be produced without having to build an armory, which will nice. It'll allow Terran players to get the Widow Mine out maybe just a little bit sooner. Maybe to stop drops, something like that. I'm not quite sure where they're trying to go with this, but Terran players can now build the Widow Mine even sooner. Terran did get one more buff as well. The Reaper got a buff. It has a new ability called Battlefield Awareness. It allows the Reaper to see up and through terrain that would normally block its line of sight. So, for example, we've got our Reaper here. You can see its vision on my screen around the fog of war. So normally if you walked up here you couldn't see up the cliff, but if you're standing here you can see everything up here as though you're a flying unit. So the Reaper can jump up here and you can kind of see what's awaiting you. You don't have to use a scan, and you can just kind of look to see are there Marines up there, is there anything up there, are there stalkers. Kind of lets you play with your Reapers a little bit safer. And you can even see up double tall cliffs. So right here you can just see all up here, all of this up on top of the cliff. Now, what does this mean? Reapers will be a little bit more useful. You can scout out your opponent a little bit easier, maybe without even having to jump up into their base. So Protoss players, Terran players, watch out for those buildings on the edge of your base, because that Reaper may be sneaking around down there and can see all of it.
Nothing I can't handle.
So now that we've talked about all the changes that have been announced, there have been some other changes that happened in this patch that weren't made public, but nevertheless are available for us to look at. So straight out of the back, we can see that Seeker missiles now once again cost 125 energy. They did have it back at 100 in the previous patch, but they just changed it back to the Wings of Liberty standard. Likewise, the Battlecruiser used to do 10 damage to ground units with the previous patch, but they changed it back to 8, just like in Wings of Liberty. And last but not least, the Locust now only gets a 1 damage attack upgrade increase per upgrade. So you can see here they got +1, which means they only go from 14 to 15 as opposed to 14 to 16. So that's a little bit of a nerf once again to the Locust, and those are the changes that weren't listed. So those are all the changes from patch number 2 from Part of the Swarm. Hope you guys enjoyed this. I'll probably continue on doing this if you guys enjoy stuff like this, and if there's anything I missed or got wrong, please post it in the comments. Thank you guys for watching.
Base is under attack. Prismatic